Hi, this is Brian with Webucator. Today we're going to be doing an Ajax image upload, and then we're going to be resizing that image with PHP using ImageMagick. I'm going to be following along on a tutorial written by sanwebby.com. Thanks to Saran for letting us do this video of the tutorial. The first thing that I want to note is that you need to have ImageMagick installed to do this tutorial. The GD library comes with PHP already, but ImageMagick is an additional extension onto PHP that allows you to use the ImageMagick library. If you do a PHP info, you should be able to quickly check that ImageMagick is installed. You can see here on my local machine that I've installed ImageMagick. Let's go ahead and take a look at the demo that Saran put together. So go down to the bottom of the page, there's a link here for demo. I'm going to open that up in a new tab. You can see that I have a click here to upload a file link. I click that. I can select a picture. Click open. It uploads it to the server. And you can see that the image has been resized and displayed in my browser. Alright, let's get started. Let me first open up Finder. Let's take a quick look at the folder structure here. So in my web root I have a folder called ImageMagick, and inside there I have an images folder, and in there I have an animated GIF that we're going to show during the upload, and that's called ajax-loader.gif. And then I have index.php. That's the file that will display the file upload. I have a JavaScript folder called JS. In there I have jQuery. And then I have upload_resize.php. That's our PHP file that's going to handle the image file upload and doing the ImageMagick resize. And then I have an empty folder called uploads. That's the folder where after the upload is completed, ImageMagick will write out the image to that file so we can display it to the user. Alright, let's jump into our index.php file. I'm going to be using Adobe brackets, and let's take a quick look at our PHP file. The first thing you can see is that I've copied in all the CSS from the demo files that are provided by Saran. I also include JavaScript, jQuery, the jQuery library, and then we have a div with an upload wrapper, and that's going to contain all of our upload stuff. In there we have a div with upload-click as the class. That has the text click here to upload a file. That's going to be where the user will actually click. And then we have another div below that called upload-image. It has a class of upload-image. And I'm hiding that by default using the inline style with display equals none. And inside our upload image div I have the actual image tag, and that references our ajax-loader.gif. And I set the height and width of that image. The last thing we have is the actual input element, and that has a type of file, and that's what's going to actually do the file upload for us. And note that I also have an ID on this element, and the ID is input-file-upload, and the style here is also display none. The reason for that is we're not actually going to show the input file element. Rather, we're going to be using that, which will be triggered from our upload click div. The last thing I have is a div whose ID is server-response, and that's just an empty div that we'll be using to hold our response HTML that's going to be created by our jQuery and our JavaScript after the upload. Alright, let's go ahead and get started. First thing I need to do is create my script tag. And next, I want to run our JavaScript when the document DOM has finished loading. I'm going to use the $shortcut function here to call an anonymous function, which will execute all of our code once we're ready to go. The first thing we want to do is add a click handler to our upload click element. We'll get it by class, and the name of the class is upload-click. On that, we'll attach a click handler, which will execute an anonymous function. Inside that function, I'm going to trigger the click on our file upload. So the file upload has an ID of input-file-upload, and we'll call trigger, and we'll trigger the click event. If we look at this in Google Chrome, you can see that I have kind of the basic outline here, and I can click here to upload a file, and that will actually prompt me to upload a file, but when I do, nothing else happens. So let's go ahead and detect the change event that's going to happen in that file and actually process that upload. So we'll attach to our input the change. Go back and fix that. The change event handler. And this will get triggered after the user has selected a file to upload. And so the first thing we want to do is we want to verify that we have the new HTML5 file API. Almost all new browsers support this, so let's make a quick check and make sure that our browser does. In the demo file, he does the if statement in reverse. I'm going to put this all at the beginning rather than doing an if else. So what I'll do is I'm going to check if the file API does not exist, and then I'll show an alert to the user and return out. That way I don't have to have a long if else statement. Okay, the next thing we want to do is create a new file reader instance. I'm going to call this file reader. I know he calls it OF reader, but I just think file reader is a lot easier for me to remember anyways. And then we're going to create a filter regular expression. And this regular expression is going to allow us to detect that the image type, the file type, excuse me, that has been uploaded is an image. Let's call this filter. And I'm going to jump over and grab this from the demo file. The next thing we want to do is we want to verify that a file was uploaded or selected. The way we're going to do that is we're going to be accessing the files property. So let's take a quick look at what we have so far. You can see that in our change event handler, we're attaching this to the input file upload, which is the input type equals file tag. And if we look at the documentation for the file, we can see that there's this property called files. And it's of type file list. So you can see here I'm looking at the Mozilla Developer Network, and this kind of describes some of the different methods and properties that exist on this file list. And one of them is the length, and it's an integer, and this tells us how many files are in the list or how many files the user selected. So we want to make sure that the user has selected at least one. So we're going to be checking that that length is greater than 0. So if this refers to the current element that has the current target of the event, which is our input file upload. So if this .files.length equals 0, then again we're going to alert the user and return out. Okay. Now let's go ahead and get access to that file. You can allow multiple file uploads, but we didn't enable that, and that's via the attribute multiple. But we don't have that attribute on our input type, on our file input. So we just have one file. So we can just assume that that file is located within that file list at position 0. So we'll call a local variable called file, and that's going to be equal to this dot files, and we're going to be getting the first, or the one at position 0. From that file, we can also get the size and type. So let's declare those. So the size underneath file is a property called size. We'll save reference to that. And then we also have type. So now let's use that type to verify that we have an image. So if not filter, which is our regular expression, I'm going to run the test method against that regular expression, and we're going to be passing in the type. So if the type is not an image, then we're going to alert out to the user that we have an unsupported file type. And again, we'll return so we don't keep processing, and get out of there. Okay. The next thing we want to do is also verify that the file is not too large. Oftentimes you don't want to allow the user to upload huge image files or huge large video files or whatever. So in this case, we're just going to check that the image file is smaller than 2 megs. So I'm going to declare a local variable called max, and I'm going to set that to 2 million. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Nope, one more. There we go. So that way we can check our size property, which is in bytes, against 2 million bytes or 2 megabytes. So let's verify file is not larger than 2 megabytes. So if the size is greater than our max, then we're going to alert out to the user that the file is too large, and that the allowed size is 2 megabytes. And we'll return, get out of that function. And then the next thing we want to do is we're going to show our loader image. If you remember down below, our upload-image is the div that held our image graphic, and the style was set to display none. So we'll use jQuery's show method to show this image. So show loader image. We'll do upload-image, and we'll call show. We also want to hide the upload link. So let's go ahead and do that. This is going to have the class upload-click, and we'll hide that. Alright, now that we've verified everything, we're ready to go. So we're going to take our file and we're going to use the form data to append that file into our form data that's going to be uploaded to our PHP server. So the first thing I need to do is create a new instance of form data. I'm going to call it form data in lowercase, so I think that's just easier. And we'll do new form data. Inside the form data, we're going to call the append method. And that append method allows us to add data that's going to be submitted to our server. Again, if I jump back over here, here's file list. If we go to form data on the Mozilla Developer Network, you can see that this is part of the XML HTTP request level 2 or XHR2. And if we go down here, we have our append method, and you can see that we can run this one right here at the top. We're going to call this, we're going to give it a name, We're going to give it a file as the value, and then we'll use that to then give that to jQuery to upload to PHP. So the name of this is going to be image_data, and the value is going to be our file. Now let's go ahead and upload this, and we'll use jQuery to do the upload. So we'll call $.ajax. The type is going to be a post. We'll set process data to false and the content type to false. The URL is going to go to our upload_resize.php file. And the data is going to reference our form data instance. Let's also add a success handler after our Ajax file upload has come back. And inside here, the first thing we want to do is hide that loader graphic, since our Ajax upload is completed. So we'll do .upload-image, and we'll hide that. And then we'll toggle or show our upload link. Upload-click is the class, and we're going to call show on that. Okay, the last thing we want to do is we want to show our response message. Our response is going to come back in JSON. I actually need to specify that. So let me do data type as JSON, so that way it's automatically parsed by jQuery. And then in that JSON object, we're going to have a response property, and we'll use that a message property, and we'll use that message property to hold the message that's going to be displayed to the user. So let's show response.message. So if our response type equals success, then let's update that server response div. Remember, we have that server response down at the bottom. We have a div whose ID is server-response, and it's got nothing in it, so let's use that to hold our response. So we're going to get access to that, and we're going to update the HTML within that element. I'm going to set that to div class equals success, so that the message is in green, plus our message, and then close the div. And if our type is not success, if that type property that comes back in our response JSON object doesn't equal success, then we want to show the message as well, but we'll be setting the div to have a class of error instead of success. So let's just grab this, paste it here, and we'll do error. Okay, that's it for our JavaScript and our front end. So now let's switch over to our upload_resize.php file. The upload_resize.php file is the file that's going to process the upload and use ImageMagick to resize our image and to write it out to the file system. The first thing we want to do before we get started is to set up some configuration. Okay. So I'm going to create a variable called upload directory. And that is going to have reference to that upload folder that I was telling you about. My web root is /www. Figure that's the shortest and easiest. And then inside there, like I said, I have an ImageMagick folder. and inside there we have our uploads folder. Note I have a trailing slash at the end of this. That's going to be important when we build our directory or path where we're going to be writing out the image using ImageMagick. Okay, the next thing we want to do is have upload directory URL, and this is going to just reference that same folder, only using a URL, HTTP. I'm on localhost /ImageMagick/uploads. Okay, and then let's also have image height, and this is where we're going to have the maximum units or pixels for our image for the height, and then we'll also do width. Okay, now that we have some basic configuration set up, let's actually check that the user has uploaded an image. The first thing we want to do is check that they have posted an image, and we're also going to check that it was posted using Ajax or the XML HTTP request. So let's do that now. So I'm going to check for post via Ajax. So if is set post, so if we have a post, and is set the server variable from the header called http:/x_requested_with. So if that HTTP header is set, and that HTTP header value equals XML HTTP request. So we'll use str to lower, make sure we have a lowercase value, and grab the value of that header. And check that that is equal to XML HTTP request. Okay. So if it was posted via Ajax, the next thing we want to do is make sure that the uploaded file is not empty. So we'll check if not is set in the files. Remember we called it image data. So we're going to make sure that that image data is posted to our server. If I go back to index.php, you can see that I defined the form data name as image_data here on line 108. So we're going to make sure that that exists. So if it doesn't exist, then we're going to send back a response that we have a failure. So let's check that it doesn't exist. So if it was not uploaded, or if it's not a file that was uploaded, or not is uploaded file. And we'll grab that. And the uploaded file is stored within this image data, and then the next property is called temp_name. That's the name to the temporary file that PHP uploads to. So if that temporary file is not an uploaded file, or if we didn't get an image_data file posted to our server, then we're going to send back an error message. And that error message is going to be sent back as a JSON object. So let's go ahead and define that as response, and that's going to be our JSON message. And that JSON is going to be an array, an associative array that's going to have a type of error and a message that's going to say image file is missing. If you remember, if we go back to our index.php again and look at our success method, or success function handler, you can see that we checked a response.type. And response is that parsed JSON object that we're getting back from the PHP server, and we're checking if type equals success. And we don't check if it equals error, but we know that it didn't equal success, so we show that error message using the div with the class of error. And this is where we're setting, back here, is where we're setting that type to an error and that message that's going to be displayed. Now that we're sure that we have the image, that it's been posted via Ajax, and that the file exists and is not empty, the next thing we want to do is get the image size info from the valid image file. I'm going to store this in a variable called image underscore size underscore info. I'm going to call the PHP function get image size. And we're going to call that on our temporary file. So it's going to read in that image file and it's going to get the image size for us. And using that image size, we can get our MIME type. So let's first check that we actually got back a valid result. And if we did, let's store that image type. Image underscore type equals image size info, and use that MIME. Get the MIME type from the file. Else, we'll again send out a response message. So I'm going to copy paste our response from earlier. I'll use that same. It's going to also be an error, and we're going to do invalid image file. This will basically happen if this file is an invalid image file that PHP can't read. The different types of image files that PHP can read is based upon your PHP build and what's supported in it. Most commonly, JPEGs and PNGs and GIFs and such are all supported by default on PHP. So, okay. Next thing we want to do is start up ImageMagick. So we'll do new iMagick. And we'll go ahead and read in that temporary file. And the next thing we want to do is we want to check for a GIF. If you know, GIFs can be animated, and an animated GIF is just simply a one image file that contains multiple image layers. And so what we'll do is we'll use ImageMagick to get access to each of those layers or frames within the GIF, and then we'll have to resize each of those individually. So we'll do if image type equals image-gif, which is the GIF MIME type. So if the MIME type is a GIF, then we want to get all of the frames inside our image. So we'll do image, and then we'll call coalesce images. Coalesce images. If we switch over here to ImageMagick, you can see that we have the resize image. And that's going to take a number of columns, rows, a filter, and a blur. And the columns is the width of the image, the rows is the height, The filter are a list of filter constants, and we'll just be using one of the common ones, and that's a filtering algorithm for resizing an image, going up or down. And then the blur will just set to 1 so that there's no blur factor. We'll also set the best fit property or parameter to true, so that way the image is resized to best fit within our 300 by 300. Remember up top we did image underscore height and image underscore width is 300. So that's the max size we want either side to be. So we'll make sure that our new image fits best within that rectangle or square. So for each of the different image frames as frame, and inside there on each frame we're going to call that resize image. I'm going to resize it to image height, image width, and we'll use the ImageMagick constant filter Lanczos, I believe is how you say it, Lanczos. We'll set the blur to 1, and we'll use true for our best fit parameter. If we don't have a GIF, if we have like a JPEG or a PNG or another type of image file, it won't contain multiple image frames, so we only have to just do resize once. So I'm going to grab this resize here, and we'll call that directly on our ImageMagick instance. So we'll call image resize image, and then we'll give it the height, the width, and we'll do the filter as well. Set our blur to 1 and our best fit property to true. Alright, now that we have resized our image, let's go ahead and write that out. So we will write the image to a file. And to do that, we'll use the write images method for the ImageMagick library. So we'll do image write image. And we're going to write that to our upload directory. And the file name for the file will match the uploaded file. So we'll do $_files image data, and we'll use the name property to get access to the original file name that was uploaded. And then the last thing we want to do is we want to set our success message that's going to be returned back to our client. So we'll check actually that this result from the image write was success. So we'll do if results, and then here is where we'll do our response. And then the type this time is success. And we'll say image uploaded. And then we'll do a line break, and then let's show the image that was uploaded. So source will be equal to our upload directory URL plus the file name. Grab this file name. And close off our image tag. And then let's go ahead and output that response. Alright, let's go ahead and jump over to our browser and let's see if this works. Let me reload, click here to upload a file, select a file and click open. And we've got an error. Looks like the length property on line 77. And that's because the property is not file, rather it's files. Let's jump back up here. This .files. Save that. And let's test it again. Looks like I have a couple of errors here, so let's go to line 23 and missing $sign. So let's replay that and see what happens. And then image right expects at most one parameter, 2 given, and that's on line 45. Nope, it's because we need to call right images. Okay, let's reload this and try it again. If I click here to upload a file, select the file and hit open, you can see that my post is being sent, but that I'm getting back some error messages from ImageMagick regarding permissions. And I think the reason for this is that I haven't given ImageMagick or PHP the ability to write to my image uploads folder. So if I look at this folder, you can see that here I have my uploads folder, but I don't have the ability to write available to the group or to everybody. So we're going to modify those permissions, and for the group and for all, we'll add the write permission on the uploads directory. Now let's take a look again at those permissions, and you can see that people in the group and all people or all users can write to this directory. So let's go ahead and reload. Click here to upload a file. I'm going to select my image file again and hit open. And you can see here that I'm getting my success message back, but I still have another error going on and saying that response is not defined. And the reason for that is if I go back here, I missed defining our response as the argument from our success method. Let's try that. Let's hit save and reload again. Let's go ahead and click here to upload, select our file, hit open. Okay, cool. You can see that the upload was submitted via Ajax. You can tell in our headers that we have the XML HTTP request as the request, and you can see that our image was resized and displayed in the browser. Great. You can follow along the entire tutorial on the sandweb.com, and again, thanks to Saran for letting us create this video.